This entitled mom thinks this kid is faking their disability.
How dare you!
Watch as she completely embarrasses herself to prove that she's right. Happy birthday if today's your birthday, and on with the show. Today I went to an Asian grocery store that I frequent often to pick up a few things. I'm wearing gym clothes, a hat, and a 7 Lions mask, one of my favorite DJs/artists. I go into the store to pick up some tea and look to see if they have a sauce that I've been looking for. As I'm browsing the shelves, enter this little brat, LB, who is about 10 years old.
Excuse me, sir, that's a cool mask you have on.
Thanks, buddy. The one you have is pretty cool too.
Can I see it?
Sure thing, man. I turn to face him.
No, I meant, can I hold it? The design looks really cool.
We're in the middle of a pandemic, so I thought maybe this kid is unaware that most people are supposed to be social distancing, and letting him hold my mask could get him and me sick. So I do my best to explain to him, sorry kiddo, I can't do that because I don't want to spread my germs to you and get you sick, especially with the virus going around. This kid's face turns a bit red and he turns around and says,
whatever,
as he stomps off. I kind of just shrug and continue looking for what I'm looking for, thinking that was that. But man, was I wrong. Small backstory before we continue. I'm a raver and have been going to large music festivals for the past 4 to 5 years. I have many masks that I've collected from virtually every festival, plus I have ones that represent my favorite DJs and artists. Since mask wearing became a thing, pandemic, I finally get to wear these masks in public. I was actually excited. I often get questions and compliments from strangers like, cool mask, or if I'm wearing an EDC one for example, what's EDC? And I would explain to them what it is, or who the artist is, and try to expose them to the EDM rave scene. Most people just like the designs of the masks, so these questions were kind of normal to me at this point. Anyway, back to the story. I'm continuing to search for this sauce I'm looking for, and I see this lady, entitled mother, walking down the aisle from the corner of my eye.
Hey, that's a nice mask you got there.
Me, not thinking anything of it, just turned to her to make eye contact to be polite. Thanks. This woman had to be in her late 30s and short. I'm not that tall. I'm average height, 5'8", but she was definitely like 5'1" or 5'2". I see the little brat behind her too, and I have this feeling that this is her mother. At this point, I'm not sure of what she wants.
So is there any chance you can let my son hold your mask? He said you were rude to him about it. All he wanted to do was touch it.
I'm kind of shocked at this, like, WTF is going on? Is this really happening right now? No ma'am, I don't think I was being rude to your son, explaining that he cannot hold my mask because I don't want to spread my germs to him, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, you know.
This whole thing is a farce, and the virus isn't even real, so take the mask off and let my son hold it.
Mind you, her and her son are also both wearing masks themselves, so I sigh as I'm tired from my workout and I just want to get the things I need and go home. Look, I'm not taking my mask off and I'm not letting your son hold it either.
Fine, I'll buy it from you. I'll give you $5 for it.
Sorry, not for sale. They don't sell these anymore, and these were sold for more than $5. She starts getting louder and more demanding.
That's stupid. Who would spend $5 on a mask? Just let my son hold your mask. You don't need it anyways. The virus isn't real.
I already said no, lady. Now just leave me alone. I turn to walk away, heading to go check out, and I hear the little brat chimes in at this point.
Mom, I want that mask so bad. Can you please get me one? I'm trying, sweetie, but this jerk won't let me buy it.
I stop and turn around again. So I'm the jerk? I'm not the one harassing people because you have a spoiled brat due to your bad parenting. If anything, you two are being jerks. I see this woman's face turn red as she marches up to me and reaches out and tries to rip my mask off of my face. I block and smack her hand/arm away from my face really hard. I know and have been practicing martial arts since I was a kid. What are you doing? Try that again and I will use force to stop you, I say in a very commanding voice. At this point, people are coming over to the aisle to see what's going on.
You assaulted me! Somebody call the police!
She shrieks out. What? You tried to grab at my face to take my mask for your stupid stupid son. I told you to leave me alone.
Give me the mask or I'll press charges. You don't need the mask anyways.
At this point, the manager/owner of the store steps in. She's been standing there and watching this happen the whole time from the monitor. Alright, that's enough. Ma'am, you and your son need to leave.
He assaulted me. He should be leaving and you should be calling the cops.
No, I've watched you harass this young man the whole time. Now leave.
No, I didn't do anything wrong. He hit my arm. I'm going to call the cops, get him arrested, and this store closed down because you racial slur are so unsanitary.
Mine, the owner's, and many customers' eyes widened. We're both Asian, and most of the customers are Asian. The owner pulls her phone out and takes the woman's picture. EM gets even angrier when she realizes what the owner did.
I did not give you permission to do that. Delete it right now. Or I will really call the police and have you both arrested, she demanded.
Go ahead and call the police. I'll just show them the CCTV cameras, and there are plenty of witnesses around to defend this young man. You were harassing him. You tried to take his mask off his face. If anything, you will go to jail. Wanna try your luck? EM stops and goes silent, now noticing the crowd in and around the aisle. She grabs her son by the arm and starts walking towards the door.
Let's go, sweetie. I'm telling the health department about this crap hole, and you will be out of business by next week.
Don't come back, and you're banned from the store, the owner shouts out as she walks out and leaves. I thank the owner for helping me out. She offers to give me the items I have in my hands for free, but I decline. I rather support her business and buy them, especially since she stood up for me. Nothing happened after that. No cops came and everything was back to normal. I check out after finding the source I was looking for and left to go home. An experience like this is so uncalled for. It's such a mood killer. You're at one of your favorite stores, you're just trying to find the source you're looking for, and then all of a sudden all this drama happens so unnecessarily. I don't understand why there's this obsession to keep pushing the issue. Like if he's just like, no, I don't want you to touch my mask, which is a completely reasonable position to hold, why is it so important to the entitled mother to make sure that her kid gets to have the mask? Like why? Just why? This happened when I was 10 years old. I was playing in the local park with my 3 older brothers, Jake 11, John 12, and James 14, and our neighbors Cal and Craig 13. We are all laughing, having fun, when John had the idea to play a game on the roundabout. The game is pretty dumb and dangerous, but really fun back then. It involved 5 of us holding onto the outside poles as one of us pushed the roundabout as fast as possible. We all had to hold on for dear life or we would get flung off. Last one holding on would win. We all ran up to the roundabout and got into position. My brothers thought it was a bad idea for me to play because I have a joint disability. Later got diagnosed with HEDS, but because there hadn't been an accident for a while, they let me play. I held on, wrapping my legs and arms around the pole along with Cal, John, Craig, and Jake. James began pushing the roundabout really fast, and we were all screaming and shouting in excitement. For me, the screams of joy turned to screams of severe pain as my leg had dislocated around the pole. As the roundabout spun, it was slowly pulling my leg apart, and it was agony. James realized what was happening and immediately grinded the ride to a halt. Everyone was panicking as they couldn't move me, and any attempt they made it more excruciating, and I screamed louder. In a panic, James, John, and Craig told Cal and Jake to stay with me so they could run and get my dad. They didn't know how to fix it, but thought my dad would be able to get me off the roundabout with minimum pain. They ran off and a crowd gathered of parents and their kids to see what was going on. The parents did try to touch me, but Jake and Cal explained that I have a disability and the others are getting my dad who knows what to do, adding that moving me might make it worse. A lot of parents looked very concerned, with some kids looking really confused as I looked like I was just sitting there crying. Enter the entitled mother, EM, and her crap of a daughter, EK, maybe about 12. They approached the group and asked what was going on, and the other parents explained the situation. EM immediately said how ridiculous everyone was being, and saying that I'm clearly just trying to get attention by the looks of things. Cal was with me, patting my back, telling me I was going to be okay, while Jake was telling the other kids not to be mean, as they supposedly were saying the same as EM. EK then told EM how she wanted to go on the roundabout, EM telling her to hold on a minute, and approached me and Cal. She began telling me me to get off the roundabout, and Cal said I couldn't. He tried to explain that our siblings had gone to get my dad, but EM ignored him. She told me to get off again before grabbing me and trying to yank me off. I screamed in pain again, begging her to stop, but she just responded, "Stop being so overdramatic and get off." I felt an intense pain like never before in my legs and was crying uncontrollably, trying to hold onto the pole. EM kept telling me to stop being a baby and stop faking it and let her little baby on. EM pulled me with a lot of force, and I fell onto my back with my leg still around the pole. Cal started screaming for Jake, and Jake ran over and tried to tackle her, telling her, "Leave her alone." EK then jumped in, telling Jake that I was an attention seeker and tried hitting Jake, saying to leave her mum alone. At this point, EM was trying to drag me, and the other parents saw my leg. Now it was visibly obvious that my leg was dislocated. The other parents jumped in and dragged EM away from me as she was screaming, "She's faking! She isn't even disabled! She's faking!" as the other parents along with Cal tried to put me back in my original position. EK ran after my mum, crying, because Jake did end up hitting her, according to Jake. The other parents stayed with me, Cal and Jake, until my dad arrived, while telling their kids to play on other equipment. EM was still screaming and shouting about how we are attention seekers, while EK cried for her mum. James, John, Craig, and my dad arrived and ran over to me with my dad gently unhooking my leg from the pole and carefully, along with the other parents, carrying me to a nearby bench. My dad told me to do the brave trick, and I started biting onto my sleeve as my dad popped my leg back into place. He thanked the other parents for their help, and they told my dad what happened to EM. He was fuming and asked them where she was, but when he looked around and saw EM and EK running out the park, EM must have seen my dad's face because he looked like he was out for blood. After my leg was popped in, I stopped crying and thanked everyone after calming down a bit. They all wished me well and went back to their kids. My dad carried me out of the park and took me to my mum at her work. She was a nurse, and Jake told our parents everything. They were horrified, and my mother said that if she kept doing what she was doing, she could have caused me serious injury. I never ran back into EM or EK again, but my dad told me that if I ever saw her again, to call him immediately. What must have been so horrific is that as a kid, you're almost completely powerless against a grown adult, so that would have been absolutely terrifying, especially when you're in so much pain because of your disability. Thankfully, those other parents stood in, but imagine if they weren't there. This could have ended a lot worse. My parents own a small business. We are a pack and ship store that also sells stuff for some local artists. We also do some other services such as faxing, fingerprinting, printing and copying, shredding and notaries. My siblings, some friends and I work at the store. I was at work about 2 weeks ago and we were very busy during lunchtime, which is pretty normal for us. My brother, mum and I were all there, and both my brother and my mum were handling their own things, and I was disinfecting the counter. This plump, piggish lady with a classical Karen haircut walks in. She looked like Dolores Umbridge if Umbridge had a Karen haircut. I finished disinfecting, put the rag back into the bucket of disinfectant, then went to the register to help her. She was pleasant at first. She told me she needed to print and sign 2 large documents, then scan them in and email them to the company they were for and herself. Normal stuff for our business. So she emailed the documents to us. Sometimes Verizon phones struggle to connect to data within our store, and our network is secure because of safety and privacy for our customers. She had a Verizon phone and was instantly frustrated with how long it took for it to send. Around this time, her daughter came in, apparently in a rush. Her daughter barely spoke while she was here, but Karen had mentioned something along the lines of her needing to go to work soon. I'll call her CS, college student. She seemed much nicer than her mother, so I finally got the emailed documents. They were PDF files that required a password, so I disinfected the keyboard and gave it to Karen to log into the PDFs so we could print them. She typed her password in and hit enter. Wrong password. So she typed it in again. Wrong password. I lost count of how many times she tried to type in the same darn password and kept getting the wrong password. By now, all the other customers in the store have come and gone. Another batch has come and gone. Finally, I sheepishly asked if there was a different one she could have used. That's when when she started to get nasty.
I know my password. It's the name of my daughter.
I exchanged a look with my brother, then quietly said, "Okay ma'am, try different combinations then." She tried the password a few more times while I just waited awkwardly. CS was wandering around the store, looking at the things we have for sale. I was just watching her as I waited. Then Karen cleared her throat, so I looked at her.
Why are you just standing there like a freaking idiot?
CS glared at her from across the store. I was a bit dumbfounded and, frankly, exhausted, so it took me a moment to actually register what she said. I just quietly apologized and stared at the counter. She kept grumbling about how I'm so unhelpful and I should be helping her more. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I suggested again to try different combinations. She did that snarly sigh thing that grouchy teenagers such as myself do. She typed in something else, and suddenly we had access to the documents. She grumbled something along the lines of "freaking finally" and called her daughter over. I tried to print it and it came up with an error code, so I called my mum over and she helped me riddle it out. But then it printed absolutely tiny, so my mum and I spent a few minutes finagling with settings. That's when I noticed that it was set to the receipt printer size, so I set it to the letter size and printed it again. Perfection. Karen's face lit up and she said,
"You're so smart, thank you."
Oh, the irony. The rest of my job was pretty routine. I told my brother what happened afterwards and he gave me a hug. 3 minutes later, I hear my mum's voice raise. She said what? But that was the last we were expecting to hear from the lady, so there wasn't anything we could do. Work went back on like normal. But wait, there's more. We got a call about 40 minutes after CS and Karen left. My mum picked it up because my brother and I were handling customers. It was Karen's husband. He said they never got the email and that Karen wanted to send it to his email, as well as now. So we sent the documents to them again and all was fine. Then the husband stopped before he hung up and asked, "Did my wife cause any trouble while she was there? She keeps saying the customer service there was awful and I don't believe her." Not his exact words, but roughly what he said according to my mum. My mum told him what happened. He thanked her and hung up. I'd like to believe that Karen got chewed out, but who knows. Okay, firstly in terms of password security, having your daughter's name as the password, that doesn't seem very secure to me. Not that I would expect an entitled mom to, practice good online security. And secondly, how did it take that long to get it right? Like, was she misspelling it every time? Or was there some slight variation she just couldn't get? What's the bet that she was literally just typing the same thing in again and again, just like, this time it'll work, this time it'll work. Submit your story to be read on the channel at VoiceyHereStories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.